next speaker. As mentioned during the opening of our conference today, we will have a practical component about how to get involved in fostering academic collaborations among EU scientific diaspora communities, and how you can host how host academic and professional research institutions in the United States may be involved. Our returning guest speaker is Mr. Jackson Howard, the regional coordinator of EURAXESS North America, who just yesterday held the annual conference of European scientific diasporas in North America. Mr. Jackson Howard will discuss transatlantic academic research opportunities for stakeholders in the Marie Curie Actions and the European Research Council. Jackson?
Thank you very much, Theodore. I will share my screen in just a moment. I want to give a quick minute of maybe opening remarks, but thank you for all of your hard work for attending yesterday, our annual meeting virtually, and then also as you were putting together this great program. So I will ask you, Theodore, just to interrupt me if there's any technical issues, if my my screen share doesn't work or my feed cuts out, but I think everything looks like it's all set. So in addition to thanking you, I also just want to thank the membership of the entire Immigration Research Forum in attendance today for welcoming me as a friend of the community. I'm not Romanian, but as you'll learn in just a few minutes, if you haven't already heard me present last year, in my job, I promote all of Europe as a research destination. And then on the flip side of that, support the European researcher diaspora networks in North America. So working with IRF leadership and membership is a core part of my responsibilities. And just being in attendance today, it's really special to learn from such a passionate and talented group of professionals all over the US and in Romania. So, and covering such a diverse set of fields. So thank you to everyone just for sharing and being so open to everyone, because I'm learning a lot on the sidelines here. And then I've already thanked you, Theodore, but I just want to express my admiration for all the hard work that you've done to put together this really impressive speaker list. So rest assured, I'll continue to be listening after this and then tuning in tomorrow as well. And I also am seeing now, listening to some of the earlier speakers, that I just did the math, you're coordinating over more than an entire half day's worth of time zones. Normally, I think I've only ever had to deal with about a quarter of a day. So a big applause to you for coordinating, I think, across 13 different hours. I hope you get some much needed rest after the annual meeting concludes tomorrow. So with that, I will start my screen share. Please do just speak up if there's any technical issues. Again, for some of you, this will be a refresher. For others, this will be the first time you learn about EURAXESS, and I do intend this to be something of a very general introduction. So my hope is that you visit the EURAXESS website afterwards and more or less be familiar with the information available and the opportunities offered. I think a lot of this is like a slow burn, where once you're aware that EURAXESS is a tool in your toolkit, as a researcher or professional, you can constantly be aware that it's there for you to check, it's there for you to find partners, find opportunities. But sometimes I know people are very motivated to, on the same day as the website, and expect to apply for funding right away. And sometimes it's just about being able to know what's out there, preparing yourself for the next round of calls. Sometimes it's a very long process, but it's certainly an excellent and free resource. So let me go full screen here. Theodore, I will ask you just to jump in if anything's not working here. But if you can see my screen here, oh, excuse me, let me start my screen share, pardon me. Okay, so let me just get my presentation.
Everything works well.
Great. So if everything is working, I want to thank you for having me again at the fourth conference of Romanian American professionals. I represent in North America the entire EURAXESS project. So my colleague and I, we are a two-person team based in Washington, D.C., covering all of the U.S. and Canada. As I give this brief introduction, I also just want to say, I know having so many speakers in an event doesn't necessarily lend itself to the traditional Q&A format. So if anyone has questions, if I can clarify anything or maybe explain something in an ambiguous manner, feel free to send me a direct message in the Zoom chat. I'll take a look as I'm wrapping up my remarks. And if there's any time left over, I'll just try to speak a little bit more about whatever I can expand on. So I'll integrate those responses into the end of my remarks. So feel free to use that chat as a sort of impromptu Q&A feature. So apologies in advance for the repetition on this first slide, but I really did want to make clear the structure of how EURAXESS works. So the entire overarching project of the European Commission of the EU is called EURAXESS Researchers in Motion. We all call it EURAXESS for short. But there's two halves of it. The European side is much larger, but to think of it geographically or functionally, there's the worldwide part of EURAXESS, and then the EURAXESS Europe part of the project. So within worldwide, there are 9 hubs outside of Europe. So like I mentioned before, we're a small team in Washington, D.C. covering all of North America, but then most of the other continents or regions of the world are also covered through the 8 other hubs. So if you have colleagues in Latin America and the Caribbean, in Africa and Australia, New Zealand, in basically any other corner of the globe, you will have my counterparts there who can help assist you. And then within Europe, every single country, and I'm not just talking about the 27 EU member states, but also all of the associated countries. These are countries generally in the neighborhood, but right now, for example, Canada and New Zealand are in advanced talks with the European Commission to join associated country status, which means they pay into the budget of the European Commission for research and innovation purposes. So when it comes to R&I, they're treated like EU member states. So if anyone in the audience is a Romanian Canadian professional interested in further additional access to EU funds, it may be a bit easier in Canada in the coming months or coming years. But that said, on the European side, like as I mentioned, every European country has a presence. These are funded by the national governments. So some countries have a much larger EURAXESS presence than others. But that said, whether you are Romanian or not, whether you are home in Romania or home in the diaspora abroad, it serves as a really good point of contact for information on, you can share with them your research field, a geographical subdivision of the country that you're interested in relocating to or finding a partner in. And the country offices of EURAXESS are tasked with helping you as a researcher move within the country, move within Europe, or come from outside of the continent and integrate in a lot of different logistical questions. So I'll give a screenshot in a few slides about what those functional areas are. But I would say, regardless of if you are Romanian or not, or which country you may be based in, the EURAXESS Romania national portal website, but then also the points of contact on the ground, are incredibly useful resource to you. And all EURAXESS services are free. So please do consider being in touch with them and visiting the EURAXESS Romania website, in addition to our North America website. So if there's any takeaway I would want you to have, this slide probably covers the basics. Like I mentioned, EURAXESS is a unique pan-European initiative of the European Research Area, or ERA. This is the acronym that the EU gives to not just the 27 EU member states, but also those associated countries, like I mentioned before, that all get treated as sort of just like the Schengen zone for travel. It's that same concept, but when it comes to research, innovation, and technology, making Europe basically a single market of free circulation for researchers, scientific knowledge, and technology. So we're backed by the EU and the member states, and our overall aim is to support researcher mobility and career development, all while enhancing scientific collaboration between Europe and the world. Like I said, all of our services are free. So Theodore, I look forward to working with you in the future and any of the professionals in the audience today that might want to put together, for example, a thematic webinar, or host me on your campus or innovation center or research center for some sort of talk where I can talk further about European funding. So I want to quickly give an overview of the portal, and this is a really interesting time because as of a few days ago, we're undergoing a major upgrade in the years that have been with the project. This is the sort of deepest infrastructure upgrade that the EURAXESS portal has gone under. So I'll have a few screenshots in my upcoming slides that will within a few days become out of date. So I don't want to lean on that too heavily, but I do want to give you the names of the main building blocks of the website, basically the just different functional aspects, so that you can click further and then begin your journey understanding what all of the EURAXESS tools available to you are. The first is the jobs and funding portal. If you just Google EURAXESS, this is the very first link that will pop up. It is jobs and funding opportunities where you can filter by country, by your researcher level, basically your career progression level, functional areas, countries, any sort of combination. So out of over 10,000 current job opportunities or funding opportunities available now, you could just click on Romania, and then you could just click on life sciences, let's say. You could type in a few specific terms, and then that large number will whittle down to a much more manageable number where you can find opportunities relevant to your specific field. Next up is the partnering tool and hosting for researchers who are not looking to relocate from point A to point B at any given time. This can be particularly useful. So if you are, let's say, based in the US looking to expand, have a partnership with Romania, these are options where you could filter again by geographic region or by functional area. And in that same sense, as Theodore alluded in his introduction of me, the hosting tool is where institutes, generally universities, but it's not limited to universities, can post their willingness and desire to host researchers who would be arriving with EU level funding. So in addition to in the jobs and funding portal listing university specific funding, national government funding, any opportunity that has European Commission level funding will show up there. And therefore, universities oftentimes want to host you if you have, I'll show you in a few slides, European Research Council grants or Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, including the very popular fellowships, because you apply with the host institute in mind. You were awarded the funds if your candidacy is successful, and then you go to that host institute. So oftentimes for them, just like you may be applying for a job, they're sort of expressing their interest publicly for researchers to sign a letter of intent with them so that when you're applying, you say that you will go to their university and then they get the prestige of hosting you at little or no cost to themselves. So if you do have colleagues or yourselves interested in going to Romania or elsewhere in Europe, the hosting tool is a really good place to look for universities and institutes that have specific functional areas where they're looking to receive you. It's called the hosting database. Furthermore, the next section is the career development portal. Basically, this is where we have interactive quizzes, trainings, including recordings of thematic topics of thematic relevance, where we can also partner with you. So as I mentioned before, all of our services are free and we are member driven. So if you come to me saying, I really want to put together some sort of program on academic publishing, this is a real life example. We can help secure speakers. We can use our own event budget to put something like this together. And with your support, we can shape it in a way that's relevant to you. So with our colleagues in the same time zones in Latin America and the Caribbean, for example, last year we put together a 5-part webinar series, one a month, all in different topics of academic publishing. It was extremely well received, and we continue to do that moving forward. We have a lot of different thematic topics as well. For example, we have an ongoing since 2020 virtual interview series called Virtual Coffee Chat with the Science Diplomat, where we interview different science counselors or science diplomats, primarily from European countries, whether it's EU member states or associated countries, and learn about the national countries' priorities and other science, technology, innovation related matters. So fingers crossed for a Romanian edition in the near future. Finally, information and assistance. So I mentioned that there's different national portals for all the different countries. There's 43 total. And among those 43, within the umbrella of the 43 are about 600 service centers with different thematic and regional expertise. So within Romania, you'll have a certain subset of that 600 and the national portal. I'll in just a second give a screenshot of what those generally 18 different topics are that can be useful if you're interested in relocating to Romania specifically. And then finally, I mentioned before that under the EURAXESS worldwide part of the project, there's 9 different hubs. So just to reiterate, it is my colleague and I based here on the East Coast, but traveling throughout the US and Canada during any given year, covering researchers of all nationalities based in North America. So this is the portal as of a few days ago. Like I said, there are some big interface changes that are underway, and the migration and updates not final. So I didn't want to put anything provisional in my screenshots, but you can see that those 5 categories I listed in the very beginning show up here in that vertical blue bar at the top. So I would say if you just want to get started, you can spend 5 minutes going around on the jobs and funding portal and see different hosting offers, see different funding opportunities. You can filter specifically for Romania. And this includes also looking for, in the partnering tool, for example, the third button, this is where you can find other researchers. It's an open networking platform, not in the sense of LinkedIn with sort of an in-depth messaging feature, but just where people put their CV in the standardized European EURAXESS format, and they leave their contact information. So it can be a good way to find people who are interested in networking further. So these are some really quick stats on the portal. In addition to individuals registering for networking, there's also organizations. It's completely free. It is vetted to prevent spam. So when you register, there may be a slight delay in seeing your information publicly available. You can also mark it as private if you don't want it public at any given moment. And if you do add in that standardized EURAXESS format, your CV, you'll see that you sort of enter about 1/6 of the researchers that register upload their full CV in that standardized format, which you only have to do once, which can basically make you a bit more visible since it's a smaller number of people that do it. At any given time, there are really a large number of research job positions available. I do want to speak quickly because you're going to be scrolling on your own and you'll see that sometimes the numbers don't appear to match. So I just checked a few minutes before giving this presentation and there were about 8,600 offers, but an offer can have multiple positions within it. So within those 8,600 offers, there are about 47,000 open positions now. Of course, this is all dependent on a lot of those specific criteria I mentioned earlier, those filters that you can toggle on and off, but I just want to leave you with that is a basic data point where you can start doing some research and seeing how many might be relevant to you or your colleagues or your team. So again, there have been some interface changes to the portal. This is what the portal up until 2 days ago looked like, but you can see here, for example, in the light blue highlighted section in the bottom left screenshot, where it says European Research Program, everything to the right are the different European funding schemes you can click on or off. So I mentioned before, European Research Council grants. If you're only interested in seeing those, that's where you could click them on and off. Click the search button again to update the resulting matches, and then see live what the different what those results are. So I mentioned before what those 43 national portals are, and I keep alluding to the 27 EU member states plus the associated countries. So any country you see here that is not one of those 27 EU member states are countries that either have in the past or currently pay into the budget of the European Commission for research and innovation. And for most research related purposes, they're treated like an EU member state. There are a few sort of asterisks here and there. Switzerland is currently negotiating with the EU. The United Kingdom, for the most part, is paying into the budget. There are a few exclusions. If you've heard of the EURAXESS program, they are not participating in that specific scheme or in that aspect. However, for example, you can treat Tunisia, North Macedonia, and similar countries on the same scale as Romania, Latvia, and Austria. It doesn't matter whether EU member states or not. What matters is if they participate in Horizon Europe, which is the EU funds research and innovation on a 7-year basis. We are currently in a 7-year framework program called Horizon Europe, which started at the beginning of 2021. So we're about to conclude the 2nd year of the 7-year program. And I'm very happy to say that as of a few days ago, the draft batch of 2023-2024 work programs was released. So I'm very happy with Theodore to release a PDF of this sort of pre-release to people who are interested in reading more. And you can also see all of the current and closed opportunities under these first 2 years on the Horizon Europe funding and tenders portal. But regardless, I'm happy to send a PDF copy of the presentation afterwards, either put it on the EURAXESS North America website and or give it to Theodore to disseminate. And I think what I'll do is I have several slides, but I'd like to just quickly wrap up. So I might speed through a few of these and give some time for the other excellent speakers. When I was mentioning EURAXESS Romania and all of the other national portals, I had said that most of them divide into 3 different categories of 18 topics. If you can read in yellow this list of 18, basically on the center right of your screen. This is particularly for researchers who have been out of the country for some time or are not from the country, may have questions. This includes particularly for people who may not hold an EU passport and have questions about visas, or if you're curious about how the social security system works in a given country, this is where you would be able to get in contact with EURAXESS Romania, for example, or any other European country's EURAXESS office, and they would give you a lot of specific information about that with country level expertise. So again, there have been slight interface changes, but there is, if you go to northamerica.euraxess.org, and I'm happy to drop a link in the chat once I wrap up these comments, you'll see a nice big yellow sign up button to become a member. What this basically means is you want to sign up for our free, what we call flash notes. It's twice monthly emails where we highlight a small number of events, both in person and virtual, news that's research related or transatlantic or generally EU STI related, and then funding opportunities. Some are quite specific to a certain country, a certain field, but every now and then, if you go through a few editions, you'll find something that might be right up your alley. So as a quick summary, what we do is we link researchers in North America to Europe and vice versa by supporting the European researcher diaspora networks here in the US and Canada, like IRF. We regularly disseminate and share information on European funding opportunities. In a similar sense, if you have hiring or funding opportunities and we can be of use to you by disseminating that, please do let us know so we can do so. That doesn't go just for Theodore, but for everyone. And then we support your research career development. This is through individual hands-on sessions, overall trainings. We're really happy to either work with you to put something together or just continue our regular operations and share them with you. So I think I'll actually leave it at that. We're big promoters of Horizon Europe, particularly Pillar 1 and Pillar 2. There has been, in Pillar 1, 16 billion euro allotted over the 7-year period for the ERC and 6.6 billion euro for those MSCA fellowships, which are the Marie Sklodowska Curie actions you see there on that left-hand column. And there's 95.5 billion euro for the entire 3 pillars and the widening participation row at the bottom. So I think you've been very generous with your time. So I'll make some additional PDFs, additional slides available in the full PDF I share afterwards. But thank you so much. And I look forward to being in touch with everyone afterwards.
Thank you, Jackson. Again, tour de force after an entire day yesterday of your own annual conference. I was happy to be part of that, and thank you for taking the time to actually share the information about our conference today and tomorrow. Much appreciated. Again,